This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are coming to you on this cold Tuesday, December 10th in Lubbock, Texas. We even had some snow flurries this morning here. Leslie and I came up here and worked out, but on the way out of here, I looked out the window right before we left, and we got a few snow flurries just for a second. Nothing stuck on the ground, but it was a cold day. The wind was blowing out of the north, which I always blame Amarillo for cold weather in Lubbock. I know it's not Amarillo's fault, but it just seems like they got a big fan up there that blows cold weather on us. And so for some reason, I blame it on them. But yeah, it's been a good day. We've been working, adjusting people. Been working to put a show together for you. And I'm here and I'm ready. I hope you guys are ready. We're on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. And you also can catch us on their Facebook page at Walk by Faith. So if you want to, you can go check us out right there. They also post our stuff as well. So you can catch us on our Facebook, YouTube, and X channels. If you guys want to share it with your friends, that'd be great too. You want to share it with your family members. You want to tell somebody. I'm trying to here recently do a better job of putting the titles on the top of the shows. I had a conversation about that this week. Maybe we can catalog these a little bit better. Maybe over the Christmas holidays, I'll figure out a good way to do that. Maybe we can put it on the rock.health Facebook website, and maybe we'll catalog some of these for you. But just kind of like last week, we did a show on vertigo on Friday. And I don't know what is going on out there in the world. I started to send a text to my pals today in New Mexico and asked them if they're dealing with the same thing. But I've all of a sudden had like half a dozen vertigo cases probably in the last 2 weeks. And I just very rarely have those cases. And so I don't know what is happening over this winter to make people dizzy. And you may be dealing with it yourself. But that's basically why we did the show on Friday, is to go over that vertigo stuff, talk to you about what I know about it, what causes it, what we can do to fix it. So if you've got someone in your family that's dealing with that type of thing, and they may want to know some information about it, share the video with them. Tell them, say, hey, go check out Dr. Clemmons at the Rock Health and Wellness Center's Facebook page, or at Health from the Rock on YouTube, or at Jason Clemmons DC on X, and you can find those, and you can share those with your family. There's no sense in just us in Lubbock being in the mecca of health and wellness and not sharing it with the entire world. So it'd be nice to have some of this stuff shared. There's some things I want to get into from a little bit of last night's show. We're just going to put it all together and get after it. But man, did you guys see the Mark Gastineau, Brett Favre? I said on the radio, on the little at the spot we have in between to kind of let you guys know I'm on the radio, I said a conversation with Brett Favre. The conversation is about Brett Favre, not with Brett Favre. I didn't mean to misspeak right there. But did you guys see that? I saw it on ESPN earlier today. It was a video. I guess they're doing some sort of documentary on sacks in the NFL, the sack leaders or something. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but there was a guy named Mark Gastineau. He played in the NFL for like 9 years, I think, from like 79 to 88. He played for the New York Jets, and he was a good football player. He's a good defensive end. He was the all-time leading sack leader until Michael Strahan for the Giants came along and broke his sack record, his single season 22 and a half sacks or something like that. I think Michael Strahan got 23. And on his 23rd sack, it was on the last game of the year. They were playing Green Bay, and Brett Favre ran a little bootleg and ran right into Michael Strahan. And instead of trying to get away from him, he just kind of fell down, and then Michael Strahan fell on top of him. And it looks like he took a dive so that Michael Strahan could get the record. And man, Mark Gastineau he has not let that go. and he's been fretting on that thing for however long that's been. I don't know when. It's been a long time since Strahan got that record, and so Brett Favre was at some sort of a signing thing. He was signing autographs or something, and Gastineau ran into him and he confronted him, and they kind of got into it. I mean, Brett didn't even know what was coming. He was just standing there. He wasn't expecting it at all. And then Gastineau kind of got right in his face and told him he wants his sack back. And he said, you hurt my feelings and all that sort of thing. And it was great. It was really a great example of the inability to inhibit. And we talked about it last night. Healthy people inhibit. And I think one of the things that's cool about this show is about the more you understand neurology and the more you understand functional neurology, the more you understand how things work, you start to see them in society. You start to see them all the time. You get to where you can pick them out quicker and quicker. You see them with your family members. You see them with your kids. You see them on TV. It's just like, so that was a great example right there of that whole conversation that we always have about brain, up and to the right, over to the left, top down control of the brain. That was just a perfect example of the inability of that pathway. I draw it and draw it and draw it, and I know you guys on the radio don't ever see it, but unless you go check out the Facebook page, but I'm always drawing that because I'm serious. Like I really do. I draw my little fake brain right there, and then I draw my plus mark in the middle of it so that you have a right side and a left side, and you have a top and a bottom. So you have a top down, or we could call it upper and lower. But and so I do this little arrow up and to the right and over to the left. Now, that's not a specific neurological pathway by any means, and it's not exactly how your brain fires. It's a sum total, in my opinion. It's a sum total of how your brain works. It's if we could take all of it and look at it from a really big picture standpoint, based on what I learned from Dr. McGilchrist and the Master and His Emissary. Based on that, I'm telling you right there, that's health. Like that right there should be my signature calling. Put my little signature on it right there. And just, man, I mean, I didn't invent it. I didn't invent that right there. Don't get me wrong. I just discovered it. I just discovered that pathway. Well, so now when you see Mark Gastineau walk up to Brett Favre, the first thing that I noticed when I watched the video is the forward head posture that Mark Gastineau has. You can look at it. It's on YouTube. It's probably on ESPN. I know. I mean, that's where I saw the deal. They're doing a documentary on it, so he'll be there. But I want you to notice when you look at Mark, and I wish I could talk to Mark, but because I would love to help the guy. But the forward head posture and is the first thing that I noticed when he was standing there, because they showed him from the side, and he was standing there talking to Brett. And so Brett, like I know him, right? Brett Favre is standing right there. Mark Gastineau standing right in front of him, and he's got that forward head posture. And I did the same thing with Coach Knight. I told you guys this. I was in Office Depot one day, and Coach Bobby Knight, who coached basketball here in Lubbock, and you guys know he's a legend. He used to be one of my heroes. I loved him to death when I was a coach. And he was walking through there, and he was walking with forward head posture. I noticed it in Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's exactly the same way. Peyton Manning's had a lot of neck injuries, almost lost his career to neck surgery, and had issues. Forward head posture. Again, you can see it. And you can see it. I see it in coaches. The head coach at the University of Utah has the same problem. He's got that forward head posture. And I worry about those guys. I'm like, man, I wish someone would talk to them about, because they don't know. I promise you they don't realize the damaging effects of forward head posture. So, and it's like, okay, well, why did you notice that in Mark Gastineau? Well, it's obvious that you noticed it, but what difference does it make? Well, the difference is the reason it makes a difference is because it is interfering with this pathway. It's interfering with this up and to the right, over to the left pathway. It's interfering with the natural order of the body. That's what it's doing. And then once you interfere with the pathway, what you get is the affect of it. What you get is the outward expression of the internal subluxation. The internal interference is manifested in the outward expression. That outward expression might be cancer. That outward expression might be heart disease. That outward expression might be anger. That is a low brain anger primitive. You kidding me? It's like 22, 23 years or something like that. I don't know. Let me look it up right here quick because I don't know exactly when did Strahan get the sack record? In 2002, Michael Strahan broke the NFL record for the most sacks recorded in a single season, and that was 2002. So that's 22 years ago. Okay, 22 years ago. And see how funny it is when you speak it out loud? When we're sitting here talking about it out loud, and we say 22 years ago, Michael Strahan got a sack on Brett Favre, and Mark Gastineau still hadn't gotten over it yet. And it's like, and not only has he not gotten over it, it's worse to the point where he actually wants to take action on it. Like it's actually to the point to where he actually is physically confronting Brett Favre over this deal. And what is going on with Mark? His inability to inhibit, his inability to move something that is threatening him, right? The threat that's on the right side. You took from me something. You took mine. It was mine, and you took it from me, right? You're threatening my legacy. You're threatening, because he can't figure out, he says in the little documentary that I watched, just a little clip of it, he said, I can't understand why I'm not in the Hall of Fame. I would have been in the Hall of Fame if Brett wouldn't have taken that from me. Now, I don't want to debate whether or not Strahan would have sacked him anyway if Brett would have tried or whatever. Any of that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the neurology of it. That's a threatening thing to Mark. You're threatening me. You're threatening my legacy, my capacity to provide for my family, all those sort of things. You're threatening what people say about me. Well, okay, now you're in a right hemisphere situation. And so what's happening? His upper right hemisphere, which is logical and thoughtful and has empathy, he's losing it. And the more that he runs that neurology, the more he creates what we call neuroplasticity. So now, the more you run something, the better it is. Go back and watch. You guys go look at the Rhinestone Cowboy guy. What's his name? Glenn Campbell. Go back and look at Glenn Campbell at the end of his life. Just search that on YouTube and watch Glenn Campbell shred the guitar and not even know who the people are in his band because Glenn Campbell has dementia, Alzheimer's or dementia. He had it so bad, his daughter's in his band. He doesn't even know who his daughter is, but he can shred that guitar. How can he shred that guitar? Because he's created a neuroplasticity that is pushed down into the deep parts of the lower part of the brain, and it runs automatically. It just runs automatically. Doesn't need any help. Doesn't have to have upper brain function to play a guitar. He has to have upper brain function to recognize who is in his band, what town he's in, like what is happening around him, but not to not to be able to play that guitar. And that's what happens when we run a pathway over and over and over again. Well, what the thing we have to worry about, or not worry, but the thing we have to not have to either. The thing we might consider is that what is the outcome of that pathway? What would be the end result? What would be the affect of the pathway running? Is the affect going to be negative for us, or is it going to be positive for us? That's really what we want. We want to know, okay, if I'm addicted to sugar versus I'm addicted to exercise, which one's going to be better off for me in the long run? You know, I got to take all the pros and cons of being addicted to sugar, and I got to take all the pros and cons of being addicted to exercise, and I got to say to myself, all right, if I was going to be addicted to something, which one of those would I want to be addicted to? Because what is the outcome going to be if I'm addicted to sugar versus the outcome of being addicted to exercise? And I'm not necessarily arguing on either side of that. I'm not necessarily saying that being addicted to exercise. Matter of fact, I'm not. I don't believe being addicted to exercise makes you any healthier in the long run than anything else. I don't think that's true. I'm not saying exercise does it, but I'm saying being addicted to exercise might not be. But now you got Mark. He's already defined. He's defined that sack as a false sack. That was a dive. Brett Favre took a dive, and now that's a definition, right? Hey, we've done shows on this before, right? Because we live definitions and strategies. Okay, we live our life through definitions. That's the way we live our life. And the things that we have defined that are the highest on our value system, that's what we do. That's the way we live. I'm wearing a black North Face vest tonight over the top of this is an Under Armour sweatshirt. I got this combo look. I defined this black North Face vest as a cool vest. Now I have another vest that's sitting right next to it I got from Eddie Bauer. So I had the choice this morning to choose between the Eddie Bauer vest and the North Face vest, but I think this is a cooler vest. I don't know if it's cool or not. I'm simply saying in my definitions, I've defined this. I'm like, hey, I like that vest. I've been looking for a reason to wear that vest. I've been waiting for it to get cold enough to wear this vest. Now I got all my combinations fit together. It's cold enough outside. We got snow flurries. I just came from the gym. It's snowing outside. It's cold. I'm going to have an opportunity I'm going to go to Littlefield this afternoon, so I'm going to be outside, and I'm going to be driving, and I'm going to come back. So I'm going to be outside a little bit today. I've got this. Now I've got this combination that works. I've got a definition that I like this vest, and now I've built this strategy into the way I'm going to function. Now, give you another example. I hate onions. I don't like onions. I'm not going to eat onions. That's a definition. I've defined it, and so I will not eat anything that has onions on it. If you were to give me a hamburger with onions, I'd take the onions off. If I got a salad and they put onions on it, I'd scrape all the onions off of the salad. I'm not an onion guy. Why? Because I've defined that I don't like onions, and so I'm going to build strategies based on that. That's the way we live our lives. We live our life through definitions and strategy. What has Mark done? Mark has made a strategy. He has created a definition that he got cheated in 2002. Brett Favre and Michael Strahan cheated him. Really, Brett Favre cheated him. It wasn't Michael Strahan's fault, but it was Brett Favre cheated him. That's his definition. And now what has he done? He's created strategies. And those strategies have infiltrated every relationship that he's had since the time he made the definition, every thought that he's had, every movement that he's had, every day of his life, and every opportunity. Now he just sees He sees all of those opportunities in his environment based on his definition. And then he gets old. He's 68 years old. He's an ex-NFL football player. He's probably had umpteen concussions, right? He's got forward head posture. I'm willing to bet he's not taking fish oil. maybe he is, but maybe not. So now he's got all these things that are starting to manifest. And what is he doing? He's losing his ability to inhibit. Now he's losing his ability to inhibit. And so what is he going to do? He's going to confront Brett Favre, two old men confronting each other at a autograph signing deal. And Brett doesn't even know what he's talking about. But he does, because he's been running that thing over and over and over again in his life. Now, what do we know about that definition and that strategy? We know that it's creating a lower brain amygdala release, escape, because he is lacking his top-down control. I listened to two docs today talk about cold therapy, and they still missed it. And these guys are cool. I really do like them. They dress all up in their scrubs, and they're two medical doctors, and I don't even know what their names are. I'll give them some credit here. I'll find them because you guys might like them. Let me see if I can find them right here. I might make some noise for a second, but let's see. Talking with docs. Yeah, that's the deal. Talking with docs. Don't know anything about these guys, but Dr. Paul Zalzel and Dr. Brad Wiening, orthopedic surgeon and members of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons. They're great. They put out some great stuff. You guys might want to watch them. And I just happened to, they showed up on my feed and they were talking about cold plunges. And so I was like, hey, what do they have to say about the cold plunge? You know what they have to say? They missed it. They gave you the inflammation thing. They gave you the protein release thing. They gave you the antioxidant thing, but they missed it. They gave you the norepinephrine thing. That was the second thing on their list, I think. Increase in adrenaline in the brain. Increase in adrenaline fires upper right hemisphere, because we know that the right hemisphere loves the adrenaline. So now we're firing the upper right hemisphere, but we're kicking it to the left. And we're getting a 2.5 times increase in dopamine on the left. There's Mark Gastineau's problem. That's why you confront somebody 22 years later. But what else is happening? He's stuck over here in the right hemisphere, which is causing exhaustion. So he's losing his top-down control of his amygdala from his right hemisphere, and he's now got lower brain escape. And I can tell you, well, we know it, and you know it because you guys are OGs of the show. You guys know what all the things he's dealing with. He's dealing with acid reflux. He's dealing with low testosterone. He's dealing with digestive trouble. He's dealing with immune system function. He's dealing with posture. And he's also in forward head posture. And how to get to forward head posture? Look at these SCM muscles, right? These SCM muscles. Just turn your head and flex your neck. There's a big old muscle right there on the side of your neck. It's called your SCM muscle. It'll just pop out right there, right? Turn your head and flex your neck, and you'll feel that SCM muscle runs from right up underneath your ear, not your ear, runs right up underneath your ear and runs right down to your sternum and kind of splits to your clavicle. It's called your sternocleidomastoid muscle. It's a big muscle on your neck. If you flex both of them at the same time, it pulls your occiput down to your sternum. So it gives you forward head posture. What turns off your SCM muscle? Your frontal lobes. Your upper brain inhibits your SCM muscles, right? Your upper brain does. So forward head posture tells me what? Tells me his upper brain's not working. His upper brain's not working means it's not inhibiting his lower brain. His lower brain is now escaping, and so he sees tigers everywhere, and now he wants to go sack Brett Favre at an autograph booth. And I don't care. Like I'd kind of like to see it. I don't even like Brett that much anyway. But um, he was tough as nails. You got to give him that. But he would throw the ball to the other team for no reason. That's irritating. And so we see it in nature. We see it in society. We see those things, right? We notice when we're walking behind someone and their knee comes in or their foot flares. One of my couples, they walk behind the girl walks behind the guy when they're hunting, and she notices how his foot flares when he's walking through the sand. It's like, yeah, there's foot flare. You notice those things. You notice this head tilt one way or the other when you're looking at somebody, how they're sitting there and they're just sitting there head tilt. And I think that's one of the cool things about some of the stuff that we do talking about this on the show, because you guys are getting better and better at it. I know. So, whew, that was fast. That was a fast first session. We got to take a break. We'll be back. You guys want to send me a text, 806-794-0400. You can send me a text. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And if you want to send me a message on social media, I should be able to get it. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk about Christopher Reeve and nerve energy on the other side. And we're going to talk about carbonated water too. So stick around with us. We'll be right back. I'm sure you guys have started that. You've started to look at, let's make it really serious for a second, right? Why not? You started to look at your spouse. You know, I adjusted Leslie today. Tuesday is her day to get adjusted, just like Tuesday is my day to get adjusted. So I went and saw my chiropractor today and got adjusted. And then I came back and we got her on the schedule. So we she got adjusted today. And I was noticing when she was standing there that she had a left side head rotation. Like she was not balanced today. She had a little bit of left side head rotation. And I'm like, hey, that's my wife right there. You know, that's the love of my life. That's my girl since I was 16 years old. Like my only one, my girl, right? Like we got to go to the end of this deal. Like we got to be able to. I'm planning on being 113 years old, so I need her to be healthy for a long time so that we can walk through this thing together. How many times do you see your spouse? And you know, some of you have lost your spouse, and I know that that's sad. I'm sorry for that. My dad's birthday would have been Sunday, right? My mom lost her spouse. She's been watching it for years. But let's talk about the people who are still with us. Let's talk about our spouses and our kids and our friends that are still with us, that they're starting to they got this forward head posture thing going on, or they got this foot flare thing going on, or they got this. You watch them get up out of a chair and they don't get up out of a chair very well. And it's kind of like, that's not good, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want our family members not to function properly. Yeah, we'll notice it. That'll be some of the first people. You go to the mall, that'll drive you nuts. Like you'll literally have overload at the mall. I do. I go to the mall and or shopping or something like that, and whew, my gosh, it's crazy. Hang on one second. Got to get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Just been talking about brains, football, sack leaders, brain damage. I don't know how many concussions I've had either. That's why you got to give me a little break, just in case you wonder if that guy, like, man, sometimes he talks like he might be having concussions. That is a fair assessment, I promise you. Okay, uh, real quickly. Probably not real quickly, but next thing on the agenda. Patient comes in today and says, Doc, what do you think of C4 energy drinks? I'm like, first thing that pops into my head, energy drink. Throw it out, it's trash, right? But I don't know anything about C4 energy drinks. So I don't know what they are, what's in them, what's going on with them. Don't know anything about that. So he asked me, hey, what about C4 energy drinks? And I'm like, um, I don't know. I don't know, is that a natural thing? Is it some sort of health and wellness deal or not? And he said, well, I got a can right here in my jacket. I brought it in because I want you to look at it and I want you to tell me what it looks like and what you think of it. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Let's do it. Let's break it down. So he brought it in and he showed it to me. And this is what it looks like. And you guys can't see that, but maybe you can. Maybe you can see that. I don't know. But what's in C4 energy drinks? Okay, first ingredient is carbonated water. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Okay, and then it just starts getting into a bunch of stuff, right? And I don't know what that stuff is. Camosin, beta alanine, L-citrulline, beta power. There's kind of some beta anhydrogenous, like I don't even know how to say that. Hydrogenous, malic acid, potassium sorbate, caffeine anhydrous. Anhydrous is probably how you say that. That's a first sign right there. If you're reading a label and you can't pronounce the words, it's probably not going to be all that fabulous. The caffeine, what is caffeine anhydrous? Well, it's a powder form. It's a very concentrated powder form of caffeine. So it's going to boost your caffeine levels in your blood really quickly as compared to drinking coffee or drinking some tea. It's a very concentrated powder that's become very popular in drinks, and a lot of those drinks will use that stuff, and that's one of the thing right there. Um, and citric acid, sucralose. Well, there you go. There's another one right there. Sucralose. That's Splenda. That's an organochlorine. That's a toxin. And so, nope, not going to go with that. Taric acid, natural flavors, acetyl L-tyrosine, nicotinamide, asulfame potassium, or ACE-K is what it's called, asulfame K. It is 200 times sweeter than sugar. Nope, not. There's another one right there. So if you're going to read through, the ingredients list on something, and you're going to start with carbonated water, first of all, no, not going to do carbonated water. Second of all, then we're like, no, I'm just thinking no. Like, no. Sucralose, it throws it for sure out the window. If you look at the top of it, total fat, sodium, total carbohydrates, all that sort of thing, okay, fine. There's nothing. You're not getting anything, no protein, no carbohydrates. And it's like, well, hey, it doesn't have any sugar. I'm diabetic. It doesn't have any sugar. If you're diabetic, you don't need any toxins in your body. I can promise you that. Because if you're diabetic, you got a problem with your liver. And don't let anybody tell you that you don't. If you're diabetic, your liver does not need any extra stress. That's a fact, in my opinion. This whole show is my opinion, right? Is my take on stuff. So if there's a that's my father-in-law talking to the gods at Baylor Medicine right there. They're telling him, hey, don't worry about your liver. I know you're on the liver transplant list, but here, if you need something, don't take sugar because you're a diabetic, but you're free to take aspartame and saccharin and Splenda. You're free to take the yellow, the pink, and the blue. Because you're diabetic, you're free to take that. And that is crap. Let me tell you how that worked out. It didn't. It didn't work out because that was death. And it killed his liver, right? Then he got cancer on his liver. Now that's some jacked up stuff, because let me tell you what happens when you get cancer on your liver. They kick you off the liver transplant list. Now they didn't talk to him about that. They didn't tell him that, hey, if you jack up your liver and you get cancer on your liver, well, you're no longer going to be eligible for a liver transplant. And we already told you that the only way you can live is to get a liver transplant. So these guys at Baylor Medical, these gods of medicine, they tell him, your only hope you have is to get a liver transplant. And then they tell him to take stuff that might cause cancer. And you think I'm being sensational? You think I'm making that up? Sometimes I probably am sensational, but no. Here comes the National Cancer Institute right here. This is an article from the National Cancer Institute. Artificial sweeteners and cancer, from the NIH, National Cancer Institute. This is not just your crazy chiropractor making stuff up, right? So what are they going to say? Artificial sweeteners are chemically synthesized substances that are used instead of sucrose, which is table sugar, or sweetened foods and beverages. Because artificial sweeteners may be many times sweeter than table sugar, much smaller amounts are needed to create the same level of sweetness. And then they go on to talk about it. 6 artificial sweeteners approved by the FDA, which I saw today, I think it was Dr. Hyman, put on, let's see if I can see this. I think it was Dr. Hyman posted it. Yeah, he posted an article right here in The Economist. The FDA does not know what chemicals are added to foods. Now, I didn't read the article. I haven't looked that up, but he says this article shines a harsh but necessary light on the significant and deeply troubling issue, the FDA's lack of oversight regarding the chemicals in our food. A loophole from the 1950s allowed the food companies to self-regulate, adding thousands of chemicals to our food without the proper safety testing, and the FDA has no idea. Additives and dyes like Red 40 and potassium bromate, banned in Europe for links to cancer, are still in hundreds of U.S. products. So you guys can go to Instagram and go to Dr. Mark Hyman. He's one of the top wellness guys in the world, and you can look at his take on that whole thing. And that's what I'm talking about right there. It's like, look, I'm reading a can of whatever this stuff is called, C4 Energy, and it's got sucralose in it, and it's also got cyanomethylcobalamin, and it's got asulfame potassium, which is asulfame X, and it's got other stuff in there, and it's got carbonated water in there. And so, nope. If you want my opinion on whether or not that's health and wellness, the answer to that question is it's not. Can you drink it? Sure. I don't care. Drink whatever you want to. Drink whiskey every night if you want to, too. And all that stuff is totally fine. I don't care what you do. You're grown people. You're grown people. You can drink whatever you want. But let's go on down the article right here, and let's see about what some of these things aspartame, right? Saccharin says no clear evidence for association between saccharin and the use of bladder cancer incident in humans has emerged from many studies. The results of these human studies contributed to delisting of saccharin from the report on carcinogens. Then the very next one of them, which I ain't buying that, the very next one of them is aspartame, the 2023 IARC finding of a possible association of aspartame with liver cancer. I'm reading it right off of the National Cancer Institute page, and it comes right down here to aspartame. It says there may be a connection with aspartame and liver cancer. The NutriNet Santé cohort study, which looked at aspartame intake from all dietary sources, found that adults who consumed higher amounts of aspartame were slightly more likely to develop cancer overall, breast cancer and obesity-related cancers, than those who did not consume aspartame. So why would a doctor at Baylor Medical tell you, or a dietitian, that's what it was. It was a dietitian at Baylor Medical that told my father-in-law he should drink, if he wanted something sweet, he should take aspartame, which might contribute to liver cancer, which he got, which kicked him off the liver transplant list. And now what do you do? What do you do when the gods of medicine have told you that the only option you have is to get a liver transplant, and then they take you off the liver transplant list and they never put you back on it? You never get a chance to go back on it now. That's a bad spot to be in. So when I analyzed that, I was like, no, I don't think that is something that that I think we ought to consume if we're interested in health and wellness. Okay, hang on, I got a text. Let's see what this beautiful lady says. Back on track wellness. There you go. She's been thinking about a name for coming back to wellness after a holiday, right? This is off track Monday, so we got to get back on track. That's what we should call it. We should that's a good job. You did a good job flipping that around and making that a positive thing instead of a negative week. That's a good job. I should take that into consideration. Back on track week after a holiday. And I'll give you the idea that some of us don't even have to get back on track because we're not going to get off track, right? Because we're not interested in that. So you say, and we talked about this before, but it's in the drink. So we're talking about it again tonight. What is your problem with carbonated water? Everybody take a deep breath in. Everybody let that breath out. What did you just do? You breathed in. You breathed in oxygen. What did you breathe out? Carbon dioxide. Why? Why do we do it that way? Why is it that we breathe out carbon dioxide? And I know there's some oxygen in our breath going out too because we didn't process all that stuff. But what is it about the carbon dioxide that we're trying to get out of our body? It just makes logical sense. It makes logical sense to say that I don't need that carbon dioxide in my body. It makes my body sick. It's not good for my cells. You know those cells that we talked about last night that we're trying to suppress all those things that it knows that it's not supposed to be doing? Those cells that we always are really depending on in order to make all that mitochondria so that our body can function properly and we can be healthy. Those cells are the ones I'm talking about. And those cells use oxygen as fuel, and they put off carbon dioxide, and they get rid of the carbon dioxide with every breath out. And I know we've said this before. Don't you know that when you start exercising and you start breathing heavy, it's not because you have the lack of oxygen. The first breath of exercise is a breathe out, not a breathe in. I did that wrong. I got to get out. I got to get the carbon dioxide out of me. So I just don't think it makes any sense to take carbonated water and smash it, take carbonation and smash it into water and drink it. So everything that's in the carbon dioxide realm, in carbonated water realm, to me, is not health and wellness. That's my opinion. I don't think it's health and wellness. You want to be well? You want to be more well than you are? Don't drink carbonated water. Okay, so where did it come from? It came from, and I know I've told you this before, but since we're talking about it, origins of the words seltzer and club soda. This is kind of a cool little deal. And I got this. This is culinarylore.com, but I've read this before. Origins of the words seltzer and club soda. Although seltzer has come to be a generic term for carbonated water or soda water, it was originally a brand of naturally carbonated water which came from Niederselzer's, Germany. This naturally carbonated water was bottled and sold as far back as 1728. It was brought into the U.S. by immigrants from Europe and eventually came to be a generic name for carbonated water. The natural springs in the Niederselzer seltzers had high carbonation with a low mineral content and became a popular beverage. The seltzer springs were well known and highly regarded enough as well for soda water makers in the US and Europe who impregnated water with carbon dioxide to make a version of seltzer water to sell to their customers. You know how they impregnate the water? You guys know this? I think you do. I've said it 87 times. They impregnate the water. That's what that I did. I'm just reading right here. The U.S. makers in for soda makers in the U.S. and Europe who impregnated water with carbon dioxide from oil wells. That's right, from oil wells. Capture the carbon dioxide coming off of an oil well and sell it to the soda makers, and they'll put it in water. And so when you drink a soda with carbonated water, you're drinking oil well carbon dioxide. Yeah, go ahead. Just letting you know that. You can look it up, see if I'm telling the truth. Which included not only carbon dioxide, but some of the minerals such as magnesium that were known to be in the natural spring water. This helped seltzer water to eventually become a generic term for soda water, even when it only contained carbon dioxide but no added minerals. Seltzer was never trademarked as a term, so any soda water brand can use it on their labels, and they are not legal specifications as to what it should contain or not contain other than carbonated water. Calling soda water seltzer is especially common in New York. Like many natural spring waters that contain dissolved minerals, seltzer was originally promoted as a medicinal product. An antacid product such as Alka-Seltzer and Broma-Seltzer traded on the name, but the taste is what brought it into mainstream. Now, here's another one I did not know, and I thought I would read this too because I think it's just kind of cool information right here. Club soda. Yeah, I didn't know this. So let's read it. Another generic term for soda water is club soda. However, this is actually a trademarked term. The original club soda was made by Cantrell and Cochrane of Dublin, Ireland in 1877, and the company trademarked this term in Britain and Ireland. The club, quote, in the name refers to the Kildare Street Club in Dublin, which originally commissioned C&C to produce it. C&C later filed a lawsuit against a Jamaican company that was using the name Club Soda for its product, but C&C lost the suit in 1896, leading to Club Soda become a generic term elsewhere. It's kind of interesting. So, Club Soda, talking about the Kildare Street Club, Kindare Street Club in Dublin, Ireland, so Cantrell and Cochrane of Dublin, Club Soda. There you go. This product, as well, was promoted as a health-promoting beverage, the specific claim being that it neutralized lactic acid in the blood. Yeah, people lie about stuff all the time about health and wellness things. There's all kinds of lotions and potions that go along with that, right? Seltzer, club soda, soda water, or just soda are all used interchangeably in common usage. Originally, these carbonated waters came from natural mineral springs. They came from natural springs because the carbonation was stuck in the water underneath the cave. As soon as it came up to the air, there went the carbonation because it's not supposed to be in there. Here, it says it right here. However, naturally occurring water with large amounts of dissolved carbon dioxide is rare, so such soda waters were hard to come by in the old days. Attempts were made to use yeast fermentation to impregnate water with CO2, but this was an unpredictable process. Let's keep going because this might be interesting. Another early artificial method for producing soda water was described in 1772 by Joseph Priestley of England. He published a pamphlet called Directions for Impregnating Water with Fixed Air. People just bored. People are bored on the planet. They just have to come up with stuff to do because they just can't figure out anything else to do. And then if they can sell it, as a commercial product, now we're out the gate. Yeah. Priestley never realized the commercial potential of this product, but others, such as Anois Jedlik of Hungary, who opened a large-scale carbonated water factory in the 1830s, did. He went on to other scientific achievements, such as discovering oxygen. Wow. He was a controversial figure in London due to his religious activism. His soda water making apparatus influenced many. In the U.S., a Yale chemistry professor named Benjamin Silliman had been producing carbonated water under pressure and selling it in New Haven, Connecticut since 1807. Today, carbon dioxide is forced into water under pressure, and it is possible to produce your own at home with units such as SodaStream, which I got kicked off of. This is a side. I got banned by, what's that guy's name? Craddock. Kid Craddock in the morning. Kid Craddock was kind of a cool dude. Like, he did a lot of cool things for kids and stuff. Like, he was always, Kid Craddock, I think they're out of Dallas. They have Kid Craddock in the morning. And all of a sudden, he just started doing all these cool things for kids. And then all of a sudden, he started advertising the SodaStream. And I was like, dude, how can you do that? How can you advertise the SodaStream at the same time that you're doing all these cool things for kids? Don't get kids drinking soda. Like, are you kidding me? So I sent a message. I'm like, how can you do that? How can you be so cool and help all these kids? And then now you're going to advertise for this carbonated water making thing that you're going to put a bunch of crap in, high fructose corn syrup and all that stuff, and then make yourself some sort of drink. And they banned me. Believe it or not, they banned me from their show. They blocked me. I couldn't get to it anymore. So sometimes you take a stand and people don't like it and they just kick you off their show because they don't want to hear the truth. But you know what happens? They suppress that stuff. They suppress it deep down inside, and it makes their cells sick. And I don't know why he just passed away overnight. I don't know what his problem was. He was a young guy, and all of a sudden, he was gone. Boom. Overnight. Just must have had an aneurysm or something. I don't know why Kid Craddock died, but it just all of a sudden died. I felt bad about that. It was sad. All right, last thing before we leave, because I just thought about it today, and I thought maybe it's been a while since we've taken a look at it. We were talking about this whole pathway in the first half of the show, and the brain and the subluxation last night on the show. But just wanted to remind you guys what a person with nerve energy looks like. Good-looking stud guy. 6'3", Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was a good-looking stud athlete. I mean, just just a good-looking fella, big athlete-looking guy, 6'3" guy, and there he is with nerve energy. This is Christopher Reeve when his brain and his body could talk to each other. This is Christopher Reeve when there was no interference. Well, there's probably some low-level interference, the subluxation, but this is Christopher Reeve. This is the good-looking, studly athlete guy. And then, let me show you what Christopher Reeve looks like after. If I can find it. Yeah, there you go. Now, this is a picture of Christopher Reeve when he has interference between his brain and his body. So, you got Christopher Reeve, the stud athlete, falls off a horse, breaks his neck, and now you've got Christopher Reeve in a wheelchair that can't move a single thing. Can't do this. Like, wants to move his finger, can't move his finger. Cannot communicate between his brain and his body because he severed his spinal cord, and now nothing works. And if you've never seen these pictures and you never really understood that, the difference between, there's another picture of him right there. Look at his fingers. Look at his fingers. And I love Christopher Reeve. I was a fan of Superman. I'm sorry that this happened to him, right? He was a good dude. It wasn't his fault. He just fell off a horse and broke his neck. But look at him in that chair. Look at him. Look at his fingers right there. And if you're listening to the radio, just put your fingers on the table and then just look at your finger and try to get your finger to move. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do that through your nervous system. If you can pick your finger up off the table, if you can move your finger, if you can wiggle your toe, if you can make your knee straighten out, you're doing that from your brain. You're doing that from the communication between your brain and your body. And that's the way your body works, is from your brain to your body. And when you get interference in your nervous system, your body doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Just remember that right there, because you don't want subluxation. That's why you get adjusted, is because you have interference in your nervous system. So that's all I got for you tonight. I hope that was helpful, kind of fun, and I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for the text, PC. I appreciate that, and we might have to call it Back on Track next year, maybe next week, couple weeks from now, after Christmas, the Back on Track week. We might have to do that. So you guys have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6. Holler at me if you need something. Send me a text if you want me to talk about something. And you guys have a great night.